Yeah, so what are your thoughts on the discovery of Homo lozones? Because I've spoken to a gentleman who has a different theory. He's not academic or anything like that, but he mentioned this interesting theory that, in my opinion, I think he thought of it himself, but he believes that Australorhizones um, is the progenitor for the Igorot people, which goes against the whole idea of the Taiwan migration. What do you think of that?
Well, the Luzones is from the Callao caves, right? Isn't it in Cagayan? Is
I
that
believe
where they
so. Yeah,
found
yeah.
those bones? Yeah.
Mhm.
The they found similar things, remember, in Indonesia. And it's quite possible that there was a sort of a hominid, is the word for it, a group of people that inhabited the Philippines and Indonesia at one time, and they died off.
Mhm.
Okay, that's the thinking of the people that support this. That those people do not give rise to the current crop of Filipinos. That they died
Right,
off
because
a long time ago.
there's no genetic there's no genetic what's it called relationship between the current Filipinos and those that they found. Correct.
Right. Yeah, I believe so. It's interesting, the genetics. There's actually, they found some 2,000-year-old skeletons in Samoa. And when they
Mm.
studied the genetics of those skeletons, they found that their closest relatives were Kalinga.
What?
Oh,
So how the
really?
Kalinga got to Samoa, I don't know. But
Oh, wow.
that was, it was just a couple of skeletons. So, you know, when you have a, you know, what they're called anecdotal evidence, you know, one of this, one
Mm,
of that, you have to be
exactly.
a little bit careful.
Well, according to
Mm,
the research that you're talking about, it would kind of made sense because the folks in Kalinga, those that was the early migration from Taiwan. They stayed in that area, and they claimed that part of the area near the river. And so I guess those who didn't go to Kalinga
Yeah,
probably took another
traveled,
boat to Samoa.
took another boat to Samoa. That's very possible. Or
Yeah.
they, or maybe there are skeletons along the way of their ancestors that we haven't found yet on the way from
Right.
Apari to Samoa.
In some ways, the other thing I find interesting is like most of us in the mountain don't even know how to build boats anymore.
Yeah,
mm.
that makes sense. That makes
once
sense.
once we found our home, we just said, oh, okay, we don't need to remember that. But
Yeah,
what I do know is that there are great architects, and builders of, obviously rice terraces and the early homes like that they built. Were, I mean, they didn't even use nails. They used rice
yeah,
and pegs, and
yeah.
the construction's pretty amazing. So they were definitely master craftsmen. I think most people at that time probably were, but then I just the fact that you can build those kind of long boats and just travel so far,
Yeah.
I that still
That's
boggles my
pretty
mind.
impressive. The
Yeah.
people that populated Madagascar came from Borneo, came from the Barito Valley in Borneo. But that's still a
Wow.
long drive, even if it's from Borneo.
Yeah,
Yeah,
The,
that's like the whole Indian Ocean.
yeah. Even
yeah,
though Africa's like right there, it doesn't make
they
sense,
had to
eh?
travel the Indian Ocean.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.